Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my book review of the book The Short Victorious War by David Weber. It is the third book in the Honor Harrington series. As quick overview, I've read the first book on Basilisk Station, had a lot of fun with it, was still confused by some of the action scenes in the battles, but overall was enjoyable. The second book, I don't actually remember too much about it. I just remember a few specific points within it, but it was enjoyable, but not as enjoyable. So there was an okay, good book, and this was a pretty good book. This book is in the pretty good range, but I would say that it's kind of in the middle of the two. This book is setting up some major plot points for the Honor Harrington universe, and also is advancing the storyline of Honor Harrington herself. However, this is very much like a setup book, and they're not really paying anything off. They're not really doing anything with it. There is an action scene at the end that kind of ties a few things together, but overall, this is really like a, hey, this is a taste of things to come in this book. So it's still not reached that point that's really hooked me. It's not reached that point where I'm like, I see where he's going and everything's working out well. He still has a lot of things he still needs to do in order to make this a great book series, in my opinion. But it's still possible. I'm still enjoying it. It was a fun read. You know, I read it real quickly. It's a little quick mass market paperback read, but it's still lacking that oomph that it really needs. Regarding some of the aspects of this book, I thought that the political situation was interesting, and the way he sets up political battles is interesting. The problem with this book and with all the books is that there are so many political and military characters that don't have enough differentiation in their voice that it's hard to tell them all apart. It's hard to differentiate characters when they all have, you know, similar ranks if they're in the military, or similar titles, and you don't spend too much time with any of them, so all of their ranks are kind of just, you know, they all just kind of blend together. You remember a few, and you remember people who were from previous books, but that's about it. Well, what did work in this book was the setups that it made, but also the advancement that it did for Honor as a character. She's always been someone that has had a difficult time getting along with all the rest of the members of the military because she's a stickler for the rules. She also has a hard time because of the incident that happened with her and with one of her fellow cadets at the academy years earlier with Lord Pavel Young. She also has a difficulty because of that incident forming romantic relationships, and we finally see her start to form one in this book with Captain Tankersley. And it is a very sweet setup. I like the way that they pitched her versus Tankersley in this book. The problem is that, you know, you see a tiny bit of setup and you're like, ooh, this could be exciting, and they're already together in the next time you read about them, and they're already, you know, waking up in bed, and I'm like, we didn't get to see them going to dinner, we didn't get to see them talk, we didn't get to see them develop a friendship, develop a repertoire. Like, there's no real getting to know you in the book. He just jumps ahead, and you have to assume he says, well, 6 weeks pass. And you're like, wait, what happened in those 6 weeks' times? That's more interesting than these little battle skirmishes that are happening. I know that you want to have action in a military sci-fi book, but this kind of storyline, showing her being awkward around Tankersley, showing her kind of not knowing how to have a romance with another person in the military, that is a fascinating story that just gets no exploration. Maybe it'll get exploration in a future book, but it didn't get that much here, which I thought was a problem. There's promises for more, but not guarantees. Likewise, so that was like a mixed bag. And then I also thought that, you know, this book sets up a big climax, and it's really hard to understand the military set pieces because it's hard to describe. Yes, you know, a ship's turning starboard or turning aft, but it's hard to really picture everything because of how hectic the battle sequence is. The battle sequences in this book series, and really in all military sci-fi, I think work better in a visual medium. Despite me being a book person and only really talking about book stuff, I think military sci-fi action works better in movies and television, whereas I actually feel that fantasy action works better in book form, because I feel like it's just the nature of it. It's easier to understand, and also fantasy action is more designed for the page, whereas the sci-fi is more designed for the screen, in my opinion. So I struggled with the military sci-fi stuff, but this was the book that I struggled with it the least. The action sequences worked the best here, and also I did like how Honor is always put into a situation that's like an impossible situation, and she somehow always comes out okay. So you're like, well, you know she's got to survive because there's like 15 books in the series named after her, but you're like, how is she going to survive? So you see her, how she has to maneuver everything. And so overall, it's still a very entertaining story, but it just doesn't have the it factor for me yet. I've bought like 12 of the books in the series, 12 or 13 of the books in the series. And so I've read for the first 3. I intend to read books 4 and 5 in February and March. And if it kicks off with books 4 and 5, I'll keep reading them throughout the summer. And then if they don't take off, I'll let the series be for a few months and just wait till I'm in a better place to read more military sci-fi. So it'll depend on how the next one's going. As of right now, I'm not particularly excited to keep going with it, even though the book is an entertaining read. So that's my opinion on The Short Victorious War. If you've read this book, what did you think about it? Did you have the same problems I did, or did they work for you, actually? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. I have many videos on the channel of book reviews and other book-related rankings, including book reviews of the first 2 books in the series that you can check out. But until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.